The morning sun filtered through the curtains of a modest cottage tucked away in the heart of Willow Creek, wrapping everything in a warm glow. Margaret rose early, her heart pounding with a strange blend of joy and anxiety. Today wasn't just any day, it was the culmination of decades of hard work, silent sacrifices, and unconditional love. Today, her daughter Emily was getting married. But in her heart, Margaret couldn't shake the strange unease that hung in the air like an unseen cloud. Margaret had spent the night ironing her simple lavender dress, the same one she wore to church every Easter, carefully chosen for its elegance and humility. She didn't have riches to gift her daughter, but her presence and blessings were more valuable than any jewel. She opened her bedside drawer and held the vintage velvet box with trembling hands. Inside was the family heirloom necklace, passed down from her grandmother. A delicate string of pearls with a sapphire pendant that shimmered like tears caught in moonlight. She had planned to gift it to Emily on this special day, just as her own mother had once done. Flashbacks of the past rushed through Margaret's mind as she brushed her graying hair, years spent juggling 2 jobs, attending parent-teacher meetings in uniforms that smelled of bleach and tiredness, hiding her hunger so Emily could eat. There were nights she cried silently into her pillow, not from exhaustion, but from the fear that she might not be enough. Yet, every time she saw Emily smile, she found a new reason to carry on. The wedding venue, a quaint countryside chapel surrounded by blooming wildflowers, was buzzing with anticipation. Laughter and music filled the air. Margaret arrived early, wanting to make sure everything was perfect. She wandered quietly through the bridal suite where Emily was getting ready, leaving the velvet box with a note on the table, "For you, my sunshine. Love always, Mom." It was the only way she knew to say how proud she was. As the ceremony began, the guests turned to witness the bride's grand entrance. Emily, draped in a gown of lace and light, looked ethereal. But as she reached the altar, Margaret noticed something strange. The heirloom necklace was no longer around her neck. A twinge of concern tugged at her heart. She brushed it off, thinking perhaps it was tucked safely in the bridal suite. She focused instead on her daughter's vows, the words ringing out in joyful promise. Then, like a crack in a flawless mirror, chaos struck. Moments after the ceremony, amidst clinking glasses and joyful chatter, a voice shrieked through the garden. "My necklace! It's missing!" Emily stood frozen, panic etched across her face, her hand clasping her bare neck. The guests fell silent. The joy of the moment turned into a wave of confusion. A bridesmaid, Veronica, stepped forward hesitantly. "I saw Margaret near the dressing room before the ceremony. She was holding a bag." Maybe, her words trailed off, but the implication hung heavy in the air. A gasp swept through the crowd like a contagious spell. Margaret's heart dropped. Her ears rang with disbelief. She tried to speak, but no sound came out. Emily's face twisted in shock and disbelief. "Mom, did you take it?" she asked, voice quivering. The question stung more than any accusation could. Margaret's hands trembled as she clutched her purse. "No, Emily. I would never," but Emily had already turned to her husband, eyes wide. "Check her bag," she whispered, tears threatening to fall. The moment felt surreal. Margaret's bag was opened in front of everyone. And there it was, the necklace, tucked at the bottom like a mocking whisper. A collective gasp echoed. Margaret staggered back, dizzy with confusion. "No, this is wrong. I don't understand. Someone planted it." But Emily's eyes had already turned cold. "Enough," she said, her voice cracking with pain and fury. "Get out. You're not family anymore." Margaret didn't remember how she left. The world had become a blur of judgmental eyes and murmured gossip. Her legs carried her away from the chapel, each step crushing a piece of her soul. That night, she sat on her creaky porch, rain drenching her, but she didn't move. How do you breathe when the very person you gave life to thinks you're a thief? She stopped answering phone calls, stopped going to the market, stopped living. The world outside moved on, but Margaret's world had ended on that wedding day. She replayed it over and over, the necklace, the accusation, the betrayal. Her hands, once so full of purpose, now shook with despair. Weeks passed. Then one night, a hesitant knock broke the silence. Margaret opened the door to find Daniel, her son-in-law, standing there with rain running down his face like tears. "I need to talk to you," he said, voice heavy with guilt. Margaret stepped aside, too tired to resist. Daniel sat at the kitchen table, staring at his hands. "Veronica confessed," he finally said. "She planted the necklace in your bag. She was jealous, of Emily, of your bond. She wanted to ruin that." Silence filled the room, so loud it was deafening. Margaret closed her eyes. A mix of pain and relief coursed through her. "And Emily?" she asked, voice barely a whisper. "She's broken. She hasn't stopped crying. She knows she made the biggest mistake of her life. She wants to see you. She wants to fix this," Daniel said. Margaret turned her gaze to the window. The rain had stopped. In its place, a gentle mist rose, as if the earth itself was trying to cleanse the past. The next morning, Margaret found herself back at the chapel. The place that had shattered her heart now stood silent, almost repentant. Emily waited inside, clutching the velvet box. When she looked up and saw her mother, she ran forward and fell to her knees. "I'm so sorry, Mom," she cried. "I let doubt and fear take over. I forgot who you are." Margaret knelt beside her, lifting her daughter's face. "You didn't just doubt me. You forgot our story. But I never stopped loving you." From that moment, healing began, not just between mother and daughter, but within Emily herself. She realized the cost of suspicion and the value of trust. She made a public apology, telling the world what her mother meant to her. Margaret was welcomed back not as a guest, but as the honored matriarch of the family. Years passed. Emily and Daniel had children of their own. And when the time came, Margaret handed down the necklace again, this time to her granddaughter, not with hesitation, but with pride. The family heirloom had once been a symbol of betrayal, but through forgiveness, it became a symbol of resilience, love, and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her child. Because sometimes, even when the heart breaks, it mends stronger than before. And love, true love, the kind that survives storms, never fades. It just waits, quietly, until it's needed again.